Hello everyone, I've come to read you another story today. Now the reason I'm reading this story is because my year 2 3s are learning all about rainforests and their mini adventure. And I found this book and it is a lovely fiction book, but it also tells us lots of information. So our story today is called Rainforest Calling and it is from a website called Twinkle. You might have heard of it and you might have got some work off there. Right, let's start. So, look at this beautiful picture. Do you recognise any of the animals or any of the trees? Could you tell somebody at home what they're called? Well done. So this book is a chapter book and it's got lots of different chapters. Okay, and it is quite a long book, so we won't manage to read it all today. I don't even think we'll manage to read the first chapter today, but we are going to start with Monday the 24th of March, and that is talking about the Emergent Layer. Do you recognise that name, Year 2 3? What is the Emergent Layer? Can you explain to somebody? Well done. Okay, and it's written in the style of a diary. Okay, I know my class are absolutely fantastic at writing diaries, and I'm sure you all are too. So, this diary is written by a girl called Daisy, and she is at school just like all of you lot. She is in class 4C. Okay, and this is her rainforest journal. Shall we see what she has to say? So, Monday the 24th of March, 9:50 a.m. I wonder if the person who gave the rainforest its name had ever actually been there. Surely, if they had, they'd have called it the plant forest instead. Mrs. Curtis, my teacher, told us that more than 2/3 of the world's plant species live in the rainforest environments. That is more than 80,000 different plants. That's a big number, isn't it? There's no way that I'm letting my Grandma Wilkins know that. She'd be on the first plane to Brazil with her lucky gardening gloves because she really loves plants. Do you know, she once told me that she might love plants more than she loves my mum. Don't worry, I haven't told my mum that. That's one of the reasons why I volunteered for this project, so that I could tell my grandma all about the plants. Mrs. Curtis wanted one of us to spend the whole week looking at some webcams in the Amazonian rainforest. I put my hand straight up. My best friend Millie said that the last time she'd seen anything move as fast as my arm was when someone told her daft brother that the bank was giving away free money. Who wouldn't volunteer to spend the whole week looking at the Amazon? I think that I'd be really good at it, at spotting all the different plants and animals. Is that something that you would enjoy? As soon as Mrs. Curtis looked at me, I knew that I hadn't been picked. She had the same expression on her face that she uses to tell us that we've got a maths question wrong. As she said, maybe next time, Daisy. Jack Walters got picked instead. But he changed his mind when he found out that we're only allowed to look at the webcams during our breaks and at lunchtime. He said there was no way he was going to miss playing football in the playground. So Mrs. Curtis ended up choosing me anyway. I don't mind having to do normal lessons. I got 9 out of 10 on my spellings last week. Still can't spell rhinoceros though. Mrs. Curtis said that I have to write a journal entry to tell the rest of the class what I've seen on the webcams. I haven't written a journal before. The only things I write at home are lists of my favourite songs and the things I want for Christmas. But Mrs. Curtis said not to worry, and I should just write as I like to speak. I think that should make it much easier. A green conversation charity set the webcams up a few years ago. I'm not actually sure what a green conversation is, or a red, or a yellow, or a pink conversation either. And when Mrs. Curtis logged on with her laptop, she showed me that we can move the webcam with the arrows on the keyboard. If I want to move left or right, up or down, I just press the arrows. I can even move from camera to camera so that I can explore each layer of the rainforest. Mrs. Curtis also said that the Amazon rainforest is over 5,000 miles away from our school. yet you can still move the lens in any direction I want. Sometimes technology is amazing. I'd love to spend all my time looking for the monkeys, or even a Bigfoot. My dad says scientists think that there are still over 5 million animal species waiting to be discovered in the world, and most of these probably live in the rainforest. He wants me to keep my eyes peeled for a Bigfoot. He says, Daisy, that will be like winning the lottery. My dad thinks that he knows a lot about the rainforest. I think that he might have read the same books as Mrs. Curtis, because they both said lots of what we all take for granted comes from the rainforest. Those beans that people use to make chocolate come from there, and pineapples too, plus ginger that goes in yummy biscuits, even rubber for the soles of my trainers. Millie says that her uncle has an important job at the City Museum, and he reckons that more than 25%, that's a quarter, of all medicines use plants from the rainforest. So if you stay up too late and have a headache, or get an iffy tummy after you've eaten one of your dad's homemade curries, the medicine that you are given could be made from rainforest plants. How amazing is that? What I'd really like to find, though, is the new kind of flower. Maybe one of those beautiful orchids. When you find something new like that, those clever people you see in the documentary channels sometimes let you name them. I'd call mine the Wilkins orchid, after Grandma Wilkins. That would make her feel very important. And she always tells me that she's always wanted to be a VIP. 10:41 a.m. Mrs. Curtis wants me to visit one of the 4 layers of the rainforest each day. So because it's Monday today, I'll log on to the conservation charity's webcam in the Emergent Layer during lunchtime break. That's the top part of the rainforest where you can see all the clouds that are formed when the water vapour rises from the forest. By the way, I realised that it's not a conversation after all. It's a conservation charity. Silly me. Tomorrow, I'll check out the canopy layer. I can't wait for that because the charity website says that it's where the most orchids are. Howler monkeys live there too. So imagine if I saw or heard one of those. Jack Waters say that a howler monkey's cry is so loud it can be heard over 5 kilometres away. He makes things up though, so I take everything he says with a pinch of salt. After that, I'll look at the understory, and then on Thursday, I'll explore the forest floor. Mrs. Curtis has said that on Friday, I can look at whatever I want, so that's when I'll look for an orchid, and maybe Dad's Bigfoot too. I have to keep notes about what I see. That's why I'm writing these journal entries. These are going to be my observations, and then I've got to share my highlights in a talk to the whole class next week. I asked my mum what highlights are, but she said the only highlights she knows are the blonde ones that she puts in my Auntie Tanya's hair every month. Anyway, Mrs. Curtis said that if my rainforest talk is really good, she'll ask our head teacher, Mr. Smellen, if I can present it in assembly. Miss Smellen gives out badges to the children who takes part in assemblies, and I've always wanted one of those. Millie will be so jealous. Okay, that's it for now. We've got another spelling test in 5 minutes. I hope that Mrs. Curtis doesn't ask me to spell hippopotamus. 12:41 p.m. How am I supposed to know how to spell exoiterate? I can't even say it properly, never mind write it. Still, 8 out of 10 is better than Jack Waters. He only got 6 of his words right, and Mrs. Curtis told him that he should definitely know how to spell disastrous after his miss in that penalty semi-final last week. Mrs. Curtis thinks that Jack might have lost his sense of humour at the same time as the team lost that match. It's lunchtime now, and Jack is in the playground sulking. I bet he wishes he hadn't turned down the chance to use the rainforest webcams now. They're amazing. I've just finished looking at the Emergent Layer. It's even higher than that huge ride I went on with Millie in Blackpool last summer. Last week, Mrs. Curtis told us that the treetops in the Emergent Layer can be over 70 metres high. Dad says that's over 200 feet. But what if the person measuring it had really small feet? Or huge ones? I don't really understand Dad's old-fashioned measurements. Anyway, it was really high up and I felt dizzy, even though I had never left my chair. The camera must have been strapped to one of those massive Brazil nut trees. They're the highest trees in the forest, and I had a view across the entire canopy. It's so incredible to see a place that hasn't been changed by humans. Pardon me. Mrs. Curtis says that the area I'm looking at is a protected part of the forest and there is no trace of humans for miles and miles. Parts of the forest like these are protected so that no one touches them and they can stay as perfectly natural environments for the plants and animals underneath the trees. I found out that there are rainforests all over the world and that all these webcams are in the Brazilian part of the Amazon rainforest. The Amazon is the biggest rainforest in the world and actually stretches into 9 countries. 9? As well as Brazil. There's also Peru, Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, Bolivia, Guinea, Suriname, and French Guinea. That's a lot of countries. I read somewhere that the Amazon rainforest stretches for more than 5 million square kilometres. That's a lot of kilometres. But why are they square? What's wrong with round kilometres or even triangle-shaped ones? I'll have to ask Mrs. Curtis about that. What's even more mind-blowing is the fact that the rainforest used to be even bigger. Bloggers have chopped down 750,000 kilometres in just 40 years. No, wait. It's loggers, not bloggers. Those loggers chop down trees and sell the wood. Then, instead of planting more trees, they just dig up the land for growing crops or farm cattle. I think that's called deforestation. The wood harvested through the forest industry in South America can be exported as pulp, raw wood, wood chips, laminated wooden flooring, paper, furniture, frames, and packaging. These products are sent all over the world and generate a lot of money for the countries of South America. There's a page on the charity's website. They have a lot of web pages which talks about how the local people make money and get jobs and how logging is important for the local economy. I think that's something to do with money. Do you know what's really strange? The charity's first camera is so high up that the treetops didn't look like they belonged to a forest at all. It's really windy up there, and the thick branches and leaves sway and ripple like waves in the huge green sea. I wonder if the parrots and monkeys sometimes feel more like fish. It's really wet up there too, which you'd expect from a rainforest, I suppose. Clouds hang so close to the treetops that it feels like you could reach out and grab a handful of fluffiness. The wind whooshes them past so fast that sometimes it's more like watching a giant sheep race. It's more like watching giant sheep racing each other. At school, we learnt about the water cycle. Mrs. Curtis says that the water vapour condenses when it gets cooler. This is how we get rain. The whole forest makes the water vapour rise, and the cool river air makes it fall down as rain again. It's so simple and yet so clever. Right, we are going to finish reading it there for today, as I think you have got lots of information about the emergent layer of the rainforest. I hope you enjoyed the first part of our story and tune in tomorrow for the next part. Bye!